Yo, what's up YouTube? This is Demented Beast here, and I'm doing a video response to all of the Jesus Camp footage and videos that we have seen circulating around this wondrous community. Now first, I would like to start off saying that this Jesus Camp and all the ones like it is a bunch of bull, and whoever goes to it deserves to be killed. I would like to start this video off by describing my history with the Church of Jesus Christ and all of its wonderful glory. I was raised a Southern Baptist in an extremely Christian family. I was forced to get up early every Sunday morning and go to church way out in the middle of nowhere to listen to a guy babble on and on about how great God is and how awesome it is that we've killed everybody who stood in our way of spreading God's wonderful love. Alright? At the age of 5, I left Arkansas and I came here to Oklahoma, which is even further into the Bible Belt. I was sent to vacation Bible school numerous times. I have sat in Sunday school doing the little activities that made absolutely no sense, you know, for the wondrous cries of pogs and milk caps. I would sit there in the adult portions of the ceremonies listening to the preacher go on and on for hours at a time. I would listen to what he said. I would kind of believe it. You know, you're a kid. Who doesn't believe something, you know, that far-fetched when they're a kid? But I would also notice a bunch of conflicts in what he was saying. You know, stuff about how, you know, the first commandment is, thou shalt not kill, and yet God sends a couple of guys to wipe out an entire civilization. Go figure. You know, you have instances of Sodom and Gomorrah. You have the plagues, which were downright cruel, even though God does not condone being cruel. So, after I was done with all that, I was sent to, basically I moved out to Arizona, this little town way up in the mountains about an hour north of Phoenix. It's called Prescott, and I was sent to a Seventh-day Adventist church where I'm convinced was a cult, and many others were convinced of that as well. And they had this organization, I forget exactly what it was called. I think it was called Victory, but it was, we were soldiers of the cross. And they would send us on these camping trips where we would learn how to preach the word of Jesus Christ. We would learn how to counteract a bunch of the truths that non-Christians were saying, you know, covering it up with more lies and more contradictions and more paradoxes. They would have us stuck out there for 3-4 days at a time, singing songs about Jesus Christ, doing activities, teaching us how to be closed-minded and offended at, you know, stuff about gay marriage and abortion, and how it was just so wrong, and how it was such an abomination upon the Lord Jesus Christ. And I got sick and tired of it, to be honest. That was one of the things that drove me away from Christianity, is I did not like forcing my beliefs upon others. Now, in the Bible, it says that if somebody tries to turn you away from your Lord, then you need to kill them, and you will be a hero. And in the Quran, in the Muslim religion, it says that if you are not Muslim and you don't bow down to Allah, then it is required that a Muslim kill you, and they shall be rewarded by getting into heaven. Go figure. Now, are we really that different than what we are trying so hard to exterminate from the face of this planet? I don't think so. And that's exactly what's being taught in these camps and what I've seen from these videos. Now, in these videos, it shows all these little kids getting brainwashed. They are over there crying their eyes out, like, oh my God, what have I done? I cared more about, sleeping in than going to church. I cared more about candy than listening to what the preacher said. Those are just light things. God isn't going to mind that, and yet they have these kids over here crying, their faces turning purple because they feel so bad about all the menial shit that they've done that doesn't even compare to what is out there in the real world. In the real world, you have rapes, you have murders, you have killings, you have people going into schools asking people if they believe in God, and if they give either answer, they blow their brains out. Of course, I'm referring to Columbine here. But yeah, I was actually in one of those camps, and I've got to say it's a bunch of shit. They've got these ladies up there making all the kids all rallied up. The only word I can give it is brainwashing and sadistic torture. That's how I can put it. Now, on the subject of brainwashing, I have a friend. I know him online, but I also know him in real life. And I'm not going to, for security purposes, I'm not going to say who this is. I'm not even going to give a name or a location. He's gay, and he was actually becoming comfortable with it and comfortable with the idea, and he is also a Christian. Now, he disappears for about 5 days. He's not, I don't see him in real life. He's nowhere to be found online. So about 5 days later, he comes back online. He's acting like a completely different person. He's saying that stuff like masturbation is wrong and it's an abomination. If you're gay, you go to hell, and that the Lord is Almighty, and anyone who crosses Him will be thrown into a lake of fire. And I just couldn't believe this. I'm like, what the fuck? And I was talking to him, and it was his mom behind this. His parents took him, isolated him, and brainwashed him for a total of 5 days, non-stop. Needless to say, he's still my friend, and I have been, I've tried to be patient. Me and my other friend have gotten into all-out wars over the internet about, Bible and philosophy and, the paradoxes that occur in the Bible. And I just got to say that brainwashing is a powerful thing. If we put half the effort into, if we put half of the effort that we put into brainwashing into actually, not brainwashing people and, giving them a good foundation of, the belief structure, then, I wouldn't mind Christianity. But all Christianity is these days is, turning people into these mindless zombies that work for their Lord. It's just stuff like, don't do this or you'll go to hell. You're not allowed to do this in school anymore because, you're not allowed to wear your pentagram at school because it offends people. Now, people are free to pray in school and pray in, make these prayer circles and wear crosses all they want because it's Christian. They're not offending Christians. But the instant you try to wear a symbol of something else, all hell breaks loose. And that's just not right. These camps, like I said, I've been to them. I can't even begin to describe the horrors that go on in there. The things that they didn't include in the documentaries. The stuff they didn't put in the documentaries is, the stuff that they're really not supposed to show because that's the stuff that would get them in trouble. Now, once I had gotten to 9th grade, I had joined this youth group. It was called the 409, and basically, it was a bunch of cool Christian high school teenagers. They weren't the standard, go to church on Sundays, for 5 hours a day kind of people, and that was really cool. So I decided to give it one more shot, and I was there for